Hi, everyone, and welcome to our X39 review and testimonial. Tonight is Thursday, December 2nd. Happy December. On to a new month. We're so excited to have everyone on the call. So far, we already have 164 people on this call because, man, we're talking stem cell technology, and it seems to me that everybody wants to hear about it. So we have a special guest. I cannot wait to introduce to you Dr. Eric Sanders. LifeWave is not intended to cure, treat, or diagnose any disease. So with that, I'm going to just tell you a bit about Dr. Eric Sanders. And it turns out that he is a doctor in pharmacy in the Netherlands. And he comes from a family of doctors, of science, of pharmacy. I mean, he is, I'm not kidding you, the doctor. And he actually made his money in marketing for pharmaceutical companies in the Netherlands. I don't know if you guys know this, but the Netherlands is one of the biggest marketing countries for pharmaceutical products. Dr. Eric Sanders, why don't you tell everybody just a little bit about you, and then how you found us and how you kind of converted to being a bit more natural.
Yeah, it was an interesting journey for sure. So welcome everybody, and I have to apologize for my English. It's not my first language. I'll do my best, but we'll see. Well, my background, as you say, Marcy, I was educated in pharmacology, and I also got my MBA degree from a business school in Europe. I come from, as you say, a family that was really into this whole pharmaceutical and medical business. My father was a pharmacist. He was an inventor and a developer of drugs, chemicals, molecules that are still used up to this date. My mother, on the other hand, was a doctor. She was working in a nursing home. She did a lot of community services, etc., etc. I more or less evolved into the pharmaceutical industry and the marketing of it because I didn't want to be in pharmaceutical industry at all in the beginning because I didn't want to be the son of my father. So I joined Philips Electronics, which is a big multinational, and I worked in their physics laboratory researching artificial intelligence, not the neural networks we have today, just the rule-based things. But after a while, I couldn't resist to go into the pharmaceutical industry. I became product manager at Glaxo's. I did development there for the first dry powder inhaler for COPD and asthma. I worked for McKinsey in Japan for a couple of years, working on pharmaceutical projects with companies from the three continents, Europe, America, Japan, making all kinds of swap deals. And then I was more or less groomed there to come into this big pharmaceutical company in the Netherlands. When I was about 33 or something like that, I founded my own agency and I started helping pharmaceutical companies in marketing with their strategy, with the positioning of the product, their messaging, and since 1999, what you're saying with digital communication. I founded a separate company into the internet space for doctors and other healthcare professionals, and I worked day and night, really starting at 6 until 11, 12 at night. And after a year or so, at 47, I had a heart attack. After that, I started to live a little bit healthier. I sold the internet company really to Merck, and they made it into a really successful website for healthcare professionals. And then I was focusing just on bringing products for big pharma to market.
So were you on a whole bunch of pharma medicine?
Oh,
I just want to name
I had 4 or 5 different types of medicine. I was on like statins. I had something really bad going on with my cholesterol, so I had acetamib. I don't know if it's called Energy in the States, I think. So that's a cholesterol reuptake inhibitor. I had something for high blood pressure, and I had aspirin for blood clotting. So keep the blood thin.
So
And I
stop
was
for a
really
minute.
not happy with that.
Okay, so just 1 minute because people want to hear this part. So I'm gonna slow you down a little bit because your story's so good. So far, just to rewind, a pharma guy overworked doing pharma marketing had a heart attack. Pharma guy starts a whole bunch of pharmaceutical products to help the heart attack. Pharma guy moves to New York and falls in love with one of my best friends.
Right.
My best friend is a naturalist. Okay, I just wanted to kind of get the
Yes,
story.
that's-
So now go. Yes, thank you.
Yes, so that happened, and I really reversed my, let's say, I got off all medication, and well, as soon as we learned more, about this whole activating natural pathway through light therapy, I got also interested in that. It took me a while. You can agree with that. It took me a year to research it and all that kind of stuff because I didn't believe it at first. I thought it's too good to be true. And I wanted to get really into the science first because, of course, I know stem cell deterioration is one of the hallmarks of aging and is really, well, maybe the holy grail to solutions or to solve that problem of aging. But I thought of stem cell injections and all that kind of things, and I didn't believe in that at all. And I'm still not a believer in that path, by the way. But when I had the time during COVID to study, let's say, the GHK copper pathway, I got really interested, and I had so many studies that were like eye-openers also for my type of issues with lipid peroxidation, high cholesterol, stuff like that. So then my only question really was to, do these patches elevate this GHK copper? So I read a couple of articles about that, but I contacted, Melinda Connor of LifeWave, and I asked her for data because for me, the studies were, okay, the conclusions are clear, but I wanted to see the data myself. And she sent me by email and everything. We had some here and to, forward going emails. And she sent me data and I could, really verify that these GHK copper levels are increased significantly, statistically significantly in all people in the study within 2 to 7 days. So that was for me one of the big selling points, apart from what I was seeing around me and around Gail with people, doctors, helping patients, having remarkable results. At first for me that was like, oh, these are all kinds of miracles. But when I looked into all the studies, I began to understand why it did what it did. And I got really enthusiastic myself. And I use these patches now myself. And there are a couple of pathways for me that are really important. So I do the stem cell activation. I do glutathione carnosine because carnosine is also really very important for your intestinal or internal organs. And beside that, I said carnosine, yeah, and sometimes I do glutathione, but that's something that I do irregularly. But for me, a couple of these pathways are really very important, and I'm feeling very healthy. And I can maybe I can share a little bit why I think the X39 and the glutathione or the X39 and the X49 are also so important for me. I don't know if I share anything yet. You asked me this afternoon to also talk a little bit about X39 and X49. It's I think they're very elegant products, very, very elegant because there are no drugs involved. I really like the concept of activating your own pathways because you cannot overdose. It's safe. And in this case, you don't even get anything besides a few light waves into your body. So it's really, in my opinion, clean, safe, and for stem cells, really affordable. But who am I? Okay, so I in my discussions and also the things that I read, Melinda Connor, who is, as you probably all know, independent researcher. She does a lot of work also for, I think, LifeWave on the X39 and X49 front. And she told us that the really the best point in research is just under the belly button. It's called the CV6 point. Maybe people are familiar with that terminology, but it activates your stem cells. It creates more stem cells and resets them to a younger state. They're blank pluripotent stem cells, meaning they can turn into any cell that needs to repair. And if you put these younger stem cells on older tissue, that tissue also gets younger. So it not only strengthens 7 amino acid pathways, but it also resets 4,000 genes to a younger state, meaning that it's, in my opinion, not just anti-aging, but age reversing. And I can show you my internal age. But now we have like also the X49. I think it's important to tell everybody that this is a really, really interesting, cool product, but you cannot use it by itself. You have to use it in combination with the X39. That's because the X49 is an analog, like a daughter of the GHK copper complex. They're both tripeptides. One is with the glycine, the other is with the alanine. And as you can see, Melissa told us that there is an optimal spot to place this patch. And in, let's say, the acupressure terminology, that would be the ST36 point on your right leg. And that's just below the knee, a little bit to the outside. So this whole GHK copper is known in hair growth. I mean, that's like general knowledge, but Connor and other in the study found independently from any other researchers that the X49 is all about building your physical body. So they found that 71% increase of grip strength in 60-year-olds, a 10% reduction of fat, and that within 60 days. And well, they found also bone growth. I don't know the specific, but I assume that must be bone density. So that will be very important also in helping people with or supporting people with osteoporosis, because the current medication is not building bone, but it's reducing, decreasing of bone, so the osteoclast. And this is a different ballgame. This is increasing bone density. And there are some things reported about reversing brain disorders. And well, I didn't put it in writing. Let's wait for the studies, but I heard 2 major areas, ALS and Parkinson. So let's wait for the study, but those are the things that the combination of X39 and X49 can do for you.
Dr. Sanders told me today that when he told me that, do you know when you strengthen 17 amino acid pathways, that is the building block to your proteins, which is the building block to life, right? And so this slide gives me a different perspective based on a doctor doing the research. So thank you so much, doctor, for showing, making this for us. Okay, go on.
Yes. Basically, this is like a summary of the stem cell activation patches that LifeWave brings to market, X39, X49. I think it's really amazing stuff. And I just wanted to share you what we did before. So I had a myocardial infarction. I have 3 stents in my heart, maybe still there, because when I was on that operating table, the cardiologist said, when I asked, how long will these stents last? He said, well, maybe 20 years. But I was 47 by that, so I was not really convinced about that. But what happened, really, he said, you have the arteries of a 75-year-old. You can measure that, right? Aortic pulse rate velocity, stuff like that. And you have to take these medicines for the rest of your life. But
Wow.
I didn't like that. So what I'm doing now, let's say 40 years later, I weaned off all my drugs, right? Under supervision of my physician. So, and I replaced it with activating my own biological pathways that were, let's say, out of sync, and also using these patch therapeutics, as I call them. So it was, I think, yeah, was it the 30th of November? I recorded my internal age. My chronological age is 65, and my internal age at 10 o'clock in the morning was like 36.
Okay, wait a
And
minute, doctor. Just stop for
yeah,
a minute. Okay, so what you have, because he's a doctor, so he has all these devices. So he's putting some device on himself to measure all this. And are you
right.
actually telling me that your actual age is 65, but the measurements on these machines that you take at home put you at 36? Is that what you're saying?
Well, that was at 10 o'clock. And at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it was 33.
Where is that?
Here, top left.
Oh
So
my goodness.
yeah, so it's a matter of yeah, it's aortic pulse wave velocity. It's recommended by the reinsurance group of America to their underwriters to ask for this, because this is a more important biomarker than blood pressure, cholesterol levels,
Wow.
your C-reactive protein, or even your lipids or your A1C. This is the best predictor of general health and to predict if somebody is up for, let's say, an event. And it's called aortic pulse wave velocity. It's an algorithm developed by the University of Cambridge. And you measure it, it sends it, and you get your age back.
That's amazing.
So,
So Dr. Eric Sanders, really, he's
yeah,
a researcher. He's a pharma guy. He's a guy that had a heart attack. He started wearing the patches. And I do say that you are now talking to a believer, in anybody that shows an age 65 and an internal age of 33. How can you not believe? And, thank you, doctor, for sharing your story and the science. What a beautiful combination.